Hello everyone, I just want to make this video discussing my favorite Philadelphia athletes from a historic perspective, meaning all the athletes that I'm going to be talking about on this list are not currently on the team right now. All these are athletes that I've grown up watching from like my younger years, my teenage years, and and players that I love and I have such great memories of watching. Number 10 would have to be Carlos Ruiz from the Philadelphia Phillies, the catcher for the team during their stretch for 5 straight years where they won 5 straight division titles. In many ways, the silent leader of the team, the heart and soul of the team. This guy who worked so hard for so many years to get to the major leagues, and was the steady catcher on the team for so many years, for about 10 years. And I love Chooch. He was just one of the best defensive catchers in the league, called perfect games every time, and could get a lot of good hits when you needed him too. And probably my favorite memory of Carlos Ruiz during his time with the Phillies would have to be his walk-off little nubbler down like the third base line in Game 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays. Number 9 on the list would have to be Ryan Howard. Had one of the best starts to his career that any baseball player has ever had. Just hit home run after home run, had a phenomenal start to his career. He had the 58 home run season in 2006 when I was a little kid, and as soon as I started to get into sports and actually establish myself as like a Philadelphia sports fan, Ryan Howard was pretty much at the forefront of that. Every time he would come up to bat, there was this expectation that he would hit home run. He was much watched television. There's not many players that you could talk about like that in the sport of baseball. And I love the sport of baseball, but Ryan Howard was one of those guys that you did not want to miss at bat. When he was in his prime, you did not want to miss one of his at bats. So, yeah, I love Ryan Howard. And my favorite memory of his would have to be, it's not like a big memory, but it's a memory that I remember a lot for me personally. I think it was a game in 2010 against the Cincinnati Reds. My family and I were down the shore in Ocean City, New Jersey at the time, and the game went into extra innings. And this is the time where my parents always wanted to send us kids to bed really early, and because we were just all little at the time. So when the game went into extra innings and Ryan Howard stepped up, my parents were just, "Come on, Ryan, just hit a home run and end this game." And sure enough, he did, like he would do so many times. So Ryan Howard is without a doubt one of my favorite Philadelphia athletes ever. Number 8 would be Danny Briere from the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, I've mentioned before that I wasn't, compared to the other teams in the city when I was younger, I wasn't as into the Flyers as I currently am now. But if I were to pick a Flyer that I was a big fan of when I was younger, it would have to be Danny Briere. The guy, this short 5'9", 5'10", 5'8", whatever he was, just quick, really skilled forward for the Flyers. And he was a good regular season player, but when he got into the playoffs, was just a different animal entirely. He scored 30 points in the 2010 playoffs when the Flyers had their improbable run to the Stanley Cup Finals. The guy would just step up always in big moments in big games. And it's funny, like my mom, who doesn't really watch hockey, during one of the playoff runs, she said, "That Danny Briere, he doesn't even look like a hockey player. He looks like a waiter or something." So I always thought that was funny. Uh, my favorite memory of Briere would have to be his overtime goal to beat the Devils in Game 1 of the 2012 second round. Number 7 would have to be Roy Halladay. Now, it's a really bittersweet talking about Roy Halladay, considering his really unfortunate death a few years ago. But Roy Halladay is probably my favorite Phillies pitcher ever. When he was here, without a doubt, he was the best pitcher in baseball, because he was just on another level from everyone else, and he deserved it because he pitched in Toronto for so many years, and none of his teams ever got the chance to sniff the playoffs. But with the Phillies, he actually had the chance to actually show what he could do on a winning team, and he delivered. And I just love how his approach to the game, how focused he was, how intimidating and how calm, cool, and collected he was. And of course, my favorite memory of his would have to be his perfect game against the Florida Marlins in 2010. And I'll have this distinct memory of coming home from baseball practice, and my dad was basically just so excited to get home. He's gonna pitch a perfect game. He's gonna pitch a perfect game, and I got home when it was like the seventh inning, and he finished it. So that was great. Number 6 would have to be the Flying Hawaiian, Shane Victorino. Now, there were so many players on that 2008 Phillies team, like really the whole team from about like 2006 to like 2012 that was just so entertaining and had so much personality. And Shane Victorino was without doubt one of them. Was one of the most beloved. Like the center fielder who played Gold Glove defense, was a really consistent hitter, always knew how to get on base, could steal bases, just showed so much effort and so much heart, and was just a really like fun and likable personality as well. So Shane Victorino was always one of my favorites growing up. My favorite memory of him would have to be his grand slam against the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLDS in 2008, a game that I was actually at. My dad, my brother, and I were all at that game, and that was such a fun experience. The Brett Myers walk, and Shane Victorino hit the grand slam, and that was really kind of the catalyst for the whole run that the team would go on to win the World Series in 2008. So Shane Victorino, forever a legend in my eyes. Now number 5 is Nick Foles. I will always love Nick Foles. Nick Foles is the quarterback of the Eagles team that finally won the city championship, and I will always love him for that. It's just the pockets of people who live in the Philadelphia area who say stuff like, "Oh, Nick Foles would solve all the Eagles' problems, and all you have to do is get rid of Wentz and you bring Foles on the team, and it would magically fix all the issues that the team has." That's just unrealistic and quite frankly stupid in my eyes because Nick Foles, if you really think about it, he isn't anything spectacular, but what he caught lightning in the bottle in 2017. Had a really good 2013 season too, but what he did in 2017 will make him a legend in my eyes and a legend in pretty much everyone's eyes and should forever. Obviously, my favorite memory of him would have to be the Philly special. I am still in just so shock and awe of that to this day, and that seems so far away now, considering how much the team has pretty much fallen apart since then. But Nick Foles will always be a legend in my eyes, and I'll always appreciate Nick Foles. Now, number 4 would have to be Chase Utley. If you were to ask a lot of Philadelphia sports fans, I would guarantee you, like, if you were to ask 100 people, I would say around 40 of them would tell you that Chase Utley is their favorite Philadelphia athlete of all time, and for good reason. What's really not to like about Chase Utley from a Philadelphia sports fan's perspective? He's tough. He lets his play do the talking. He's gritty. He's determined. He's a hard worker. Doesn't really say that much, but when he does, you know it's memorable. For example, he won the hearts of Philadelphia sports fans forever with his infamous "World Champions" remark in the 2008 World Series parade speech. So Chase Utley will always be a legend in my eyes. I will always appreciate him and his time here. And he pretty much was the perfect embodiment of pretty much what a lot of Philadelphia sports fans want from their athletes: tough, determined, gritty, and let his play do the talking. Now, number 3 would have to be Allen Iverson, and I don't know how you cannot love Allen Iverson if you're a Philadelphia sports fan's perspective. Yeah, he wasn't perfect. He had an ego, but at the same time, the team didn't really do that much to help him while he had his tenure here. Like, he didn't really have any co-stars or anything. They tried Chris Webber. That didn't really work. They had Dikembe Mutombo for 1.5 years, but he was more of a defensive specialist. But Allen Iverson, he's just a really interesting and inspiring player in the fact that he was this 5'10", 5'11", 6-foot guy going up against these giants and just had so much heart and so much passion. And he captured the minds of Philadelphia sports fans and forever, and I'll always appreciate Allen Iverson. And obviously, I was just a little kid when he did this, but my favorite memory of him would have to be the Tyronn Lue step over, and to this day, that has to be one of the most disrespectful but also most awesome sports moments ever. Number 2 would have to be Brian Dawkins. This guy right here. My favorite Eagle ever, will most likely always be my favorite Eagle ever. And I always remember, like, when he went to the Broncos, my dad just was so distraught, and he said the heart and soul of the team left. And he was right. And it would take a long time for the team to bring in someone, or bring in anyone that could be inspiring and as motivating and as tough as Brian Dawkins was. The guy was just an animal. He worked so hard. He was so tough. And it was obvious how much he loved playing for the city of Philadelphia. And he fit the city perfectly, how tough he played, how tough-minded he was, and how motivating he was. The city just fell in love with this guy. And he'll always be a legend here no matter what. And if you would ask the majority of Eagles fans, at least the Eagles fans who were, I would say, 40 or younger, who their favorite Eagle was, I would say the majority would probably have to say Brian Dawkins, and I don't think that's a hyperbole whatsoever. So, my number 1 favorite Philadelphia sports athlete of all time would have to be Jimmy Rollins. And it's been that way for as long as I can remember. Pretty much as long as I've been a Philadelphia sports fan, Jimmy Rollins has been my favorite Philadelphia athlete. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, the Citizens Bank Park, after a Phillies game, had like the classic run the bases. And after that, we got done running the bases, when this like 6, 7-year-old kid, Jimmy Rollins, came up to me, and I was wearing like sunglasses or whatever, and he came up to me and said, "Cool shades, kid." And that's all I really remember him saying. But as soon as he did that, he just became my favorite player forever, and even to this day, like he's loved the tenacity he played with, loved like how the swagger he had that he brought to the Phillies. And when most people think about that 2008 Phillies team, they think about them as like tough-minded. But Jimmy Rollins, not saying he wasn't tough, but he brought like this level of swagger to the team that was not as big as an aspect of them as is talked about. And he's just such a great player, played for so long for the Phillies, played 15 years from 2000 to 2014 here, and I'll always love Jimmy Rollins. I wore number 11 for pretty much every sport I played because of Jimmy Rollins. Not just for baseball, I played basketball too, played soccer too. I wore number 11 because of Jimmy Rollins. So I'll always appreciate him, and he'll always be my favorite player ever. Get through some honorable mentions: Cole Hamels, Brad Lidge, Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, Brent Selleck, Simone Gagne, Wayne Simmons, Kimo Timonen. There's so many great players that play for Philadelphia sports, and so many players that mean a lot to me. And I just wanted to share all those in this one video. So, take care, everyone. Stay safe. And see if I do something like this later.